The NFL season is right around the corner, and boy, I cannot wait for it to start. What is going on, y'all? Fox Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL, talking a little Bears. So if you're an NFL fan or a Bears fan or both, make sure to go ahead and subscribe and turn on my post notifications because I do daily uploads on this channel. You don't want to miss out. Hit the bell icon to be notified every time I post. And make sure to follow me on my social media. You guys know I love interacting and talking to you guys on there. So Twitter, Instagram, hit me up. Links down below and on the screen for that. We're talking Bears. We're talking the depth chart for 2019 with, again, the season just a few weeks away, and talking about what this roster is looking like. How does it stack up in terms of the depth chart itself at every position? And we'll go offense, defense, and everything else in between. So with that being said, I don't want to wait any longer. You got the whiteboard right behind me. You know, you guys love these whiteboard videos. Let's teach a little, let's talk a little, and let's get started. So I'm going to start with the offense first and then move over to the defensive side of the ball. But I do want to point out that this is just my best guess and my interpretation at the Bears depth chart heading into the season. Now with training camp starting, that could certainly change and impact things. And as things get updated, I will make sure to update you guys. But for the most part, just to get you guys ready for the season, just to get you guys prepared and familiar with the roster once again, that's why I'm doing it, okay? So let's get started with the offensive side of the ball. Like I mentioned, so I'm going to split the board in half. We're going to do offense. We're going to do defense. Let's start with the big boys in the middle, our offensive line, okay? Because they had a phenomenal season last year. We've got the left guard, left tackle, center, right guard, right tackle, and like I said, multiple Pro Bowlers on our offensive line, even though guys switch positions. So obviously on the left tackle, we've got Charles Leno Jr., who made a Pro Bowl last year. I believe he was an alternate, had a phenomenal season, and he's absolutely going to be the starter. Left guard, we had Cody Whitehair. And the funny part is Cody Whitehair made a Pro Bowl, I believe, as a center. And we switched him. He was a center. We switched him over to left guard, and he was still phenomenal. So it's funny, but I do believe he will start the season here. At center, we've got, and I'm just going to put his name down below here. We've got James Daniels, who's solid. He moved to center as well, so that was a position change here. Kyle Long, right guard, coming back after missing 8 games last season. We know how important Kyle Long is to our offensive line. He's the leader of the offensive line, multiple-time Pro Bowler, and his experience and leadership within the group is unmatched. He's not just a leader on the offensive line, he's a leader of the Bears in general. So it's going to be great to have him back this season. It's going to be a big boost to the offensive line. And then finishing out the offensive line is Bobby Massey at the right tackle spot. So there are the 5 starters, I believe, for the offensive line. Now, again, it's funny. I should be going into the depth chart of the offensive line. But here's the thing. I don't feel that great about our backups, and a lot of them you guys probably won't know. And unless you're a football nerd, you won't know. I'm not even that, much knowledgeable about every single one of the backups. Again, it's more of the skill position players. But again, for the most part, our starters are very good. And it's a very solid offensive line. It's just that behind we're a little weak, okay? So let's move on. And of course, we've got our QB, my boy Mitch, okay? And then Chase Daniels is his backup. You guys know how I feel about Mitch Trubisky. I think he is going to keep building and just have an even better year. The last year, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. He had a 6 touchdown game. Just phenomenal second year for Mitch Trubisky compared to that first season under John Fox, which was abysmal. So I expect him to take another leap forward. Made a Pro Bowl last year. A lot of people forget that. I know he was an alternate, but listen, he was still a Pro Bowler, so I don't want to hear anything else. Mitch is a starter. And then Chase Daniels played 2 games last year because Mitch missed 2 games, and he was solid. So I got no issues with Chase here. I do like Chase as our backup, okay? Let's move on to the wide receiver position. So we've got wide receiver here and here. So we've got Allen Robinson. I believe A-Rob is going to have a huge year this year. Really, when we signed him from the Jaguars in free agency, he was coming off that torn ACL, if you guys remember that. And really, I never felt like he was consistent in the entire season. Now, first year under Matt Nagy and the new offense with the new quarterback in Mitch, you're obviously going to have some struggles, but now a second year, more experience with Mitch, with the offense, with Matt Nagy, and I believe Allen Robinson is going to have a breakout year in fantasy football. You're going to want to draft Allen Robinson. I'm going to be starting fantasy football soon, so you guys better look out for that. So again, Allen Robinson is going to be huge. And then we've got, I believe, again, this is my interpretation, I think Anthony Miller takes over the wide receiver 2 spot. Now we've also got Taylor Gabriel, if I can spell right, Gabriel, there we go. I've got Taylor Gabriel here, of course, but to me, Anthony Miller is going to have a monster year, okay? Anthony Miller last year, and again, I know Mitch had some struggles last year with his ball, with overthrowing guys and whatnot. Nobody suffered more from Mitch missing, or throwing bad balls than Anthony Miller, okay? Anthony Miller, with, again, Mitch making progress this season, I believe, is going to have a monster year. And I believe people compared him to Antonio Brown, folks. People forget that. I'm not saying he's going to turn into AB, but I really, really like Anthony Miller. And I believe he's going to overtake Taylor Gabriel at that wide receiver 2 spot. Taylor Gabriel's still going to start. Again, he's our burner. He's arguably the fastest player on the team next to Tariq Cohen. It's either or. So to me, Taylor Gabriel is our deep ball guy. Allen Robinson, sort of the possession receiver, the big target in the red zone. And then Anthony Miller can play the slot, can do it all, really. So those are 3 starters. And behind we've got Ridley, the rookie wide receiver we drafted. He is the younger brother of Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. And again, I'm a big fan. Riley Ridley, I believe he's going to be better than the bust that was Kevin White, who's no longer with this team. Now, again, that's not saying much, but to me, I do believe he'll be better, but he's not going to start. I do believe he'll get a few snaps. And then I believe Jawan Wims, a lot of people did not see him play much, and he didn't get a lot of playing time, but I do believe he is going to be one of the wide receivers on this roster. He did play particularly well in spurts last season, so you definitely want to think that he's going to get some sort of playing time. And then we've also got Marvin Hall, who we signed from the Atlanta Falcons. Again, I believe he'll be used sparingly. I don't believe he'll be used that much. So you've got Marvin Hall. And again, to me, that's the extent of the wide receiver depth chart. But there's a guy who can really do it all for us. And again, I'm going to be using him in other positions as well. And that's obviously Cordarrelle Patterson. So he's the Swiss Army knife, right? So is he going to play running back? Is he going to play wide receiver? Is he going to play kick return? He might play everything. So, but I have him there. But for the most part, it's the 6 guys: Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, Riley Ridley, Jawan Wims, and Marvin Hall as our wide receiver. Let's move on to running back. Actually, let's go to tight end first and then go to running back. And tight end, pretty simple. We've got Trey Burton, our starter from last season, and then Adam Shaheen, our big behemoth tight end behind him. So that's really our tight end depth chart. And I like Trey Burton, of course. Remember, we got him from the Philadelphia Eagles last season. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I do like him. And we've got 2 other guys behind in Brian Braunecker and Dan Raymond. And I don't want to mention them here because I don't believe they're going to get a lot of playing time. Basically, if Trey Burton's healthy, he's taking up most of the snaps, and then Adam Shaheen sparingly used in the red zone just because he's a big target, okay? And then let's finish it off with the running backs, okay? And this, I saved the best for last because this is the legitimate, depending on what happens in training camp, this is how the depth chart's going to shake out. And to me, I'm going to list Tariq Cohen as a starter for now, but let me talk about it real quick because we've got basically 3 guys here competing essentially for the starting job. Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, Mike Davis, okay? Tariq Cohen, like I mentioned to you, he is, of course, our, back that's diminutive, but he can do a lot of things. He was the change of pace catch, dump, screen passes, and you know, when he turns on the jets, you know, he is great, but he's obviously very small. Can he handle a big workload? David Montgomery, our running back that we drafted in this year's draft, he could be a possible workhorse depending on what happens. No Jordan Howard anymore, okay? So the running back one slot wide open. Who's going to take it? That's going to be the main thing to see heading into training camp. And we also signed Mike Davis from the Seattle Seahawks. He can run. He's a power back. He can catch a little bit. So he's pretty good as well. So to me, this is going to be the competition you want to see. How are the carries going to split up? Maybe they end up being split up very evenly between these two backs. Maybe Montgomery becomes our workhorse. Maybe it's Tariq Cohen. But that's what we want to see here. My guess, just because of experience and how well he did in the offense and how well he knows the offense, that Tariq Cohen does start. But David Montgomery has as good of a shot as anybody. So to me, you can't count him out. So there you have it, folks. That is the offense for you guys, for the Chicago Bears for this upcoming season. Now let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, as we all know how destructive and absolutely monstrous the Bears defense was last season. One of the biggest reasons we went 12-4 and won our division. So let's start on the defensive line with the right defensive end. So let's go here. And we have got... right here, we've got our starter, Bilal Nichols. Okay, so he had a good year last year, solid starter, but definitely the worst out of our starting defensive linemen. Now, if you guys remember, the Bears do run a base 3-4 defense. So we've got 3 down linemen. So you've got your nose tackle here, and you've got your left defensive end. And our nose tackle, of course, Eddie Goldman, who I believe should have made a Pro Bowl last season, but I digress. And then, of course, our other stud, who was absolutely disrespected by Madden, in Akeem Hicks, who was a Pro Bowler last year and the second best player on our defense, I believe, or arguably second or third, depending on how you want to shake out with Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson. But he is absolutely impactful for us. And like I said, Madden gave him 87. I don't know. Madden is just, I don't know why they hate the Bears, but I digress, okay? So Bilal Nichols starting on the right side of the line. Eddie Goldman, our nose tackle, and Akeem Hicks over here. Now we've got guys behind him. I believe Jonathan Bullard is the backup to Bilal Nichols. Banfield over here for Eddie Goldman. And then we've got Roy Robertson Harris. Backing up Akeem Hicks. Now, again, similar to offense, our D-line, I mean, these guys, the backups won't obviously play as much, but our studs on the defensive line are obviously Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman, so they're going to get as many snaps as they can handle. But again, Roy Robertson Harris is decent, Jonathan Bullard is decent, but they're backups for a reason, so I just want to point that out, okay? So that takes care of the defensive line. Now let's go to the linebackers, and we will, of course, start with the left outside linebacker in Khalil freaking Mack, who, of course, is the best player on our defense, arguably the best player in the NFL, best defensive player in the NFL. Heck, you could make the argument he's the best player in the NFL. 99 overall in Madden, folks. One of the 4 players who got a 99 overall. I just talked about how Madden hates the Bears, but the only players that they did like and respected was Khalil Mack. There's nothing much that needs to be said. Behind Khalil Mack, we've got Aaron Lynch, who's decent. Again, nothing special. He's a decent backup for Khalil Mack. Let's go over the right outside linebacker. Right outside, if I could spell correctly. And, of course, over here we've got Danny Trevathan, who also was a Pro Bowler. He's very underrated to me. I don't believe he gets enough respect in this league, but he is a very good, solid starter. And we've got our draft pick, Joel Iggy, who I believe will back him up. So that will be nice to see. But to me, our linebackers are some of the best in the NFL. And just by seeing here with Khalil Mack and Danny Trevathan, you could tell how potent our linebacking crew is. Now let's talk about the left inside linebackers. And we will go to Roquan who of course we drafted last season. I do believe he made a Pro Bowl as an alternate. Phenomenal year last season for Roquan Smith, who we drafted, and again, he's going to be a stud in this league for years to come. Nick, and again, I'm just going to butcher his name, Kwiatkowski, but I don't even want to spell his name, but you get my point. Nick Kwiatkowski, I think he's the backup behind Roquan Smith. But again, Roquan is our starter. He absolutely deserves to be an alternate as a Pro Bowl rookie year. That's unreal. So let's go to the right inside linebacker, and we've got Leonard Boyd here, who had a decent year last year. I do believe so. But for the most part, Leonard Floyd's been a bit up and down in his career, though I do believe, of course, still going to be a starter here. Isaiah Irving, his backup there, so he'll be solid. And then let's go to our secondary now, and we'll start with the left cornerback position, and we've got Prince Montgomery here, so I'm just going to say Prince instead of spelling out his last name. So, of course, Prince Montgomery, who had a decent year last year, and to me, I think he's a very solid corner in this league, a very solid starter, though nothing in terms of, elite, I would say. Buster Skrine, however you want to say his name, right behind him, who we signed this year from the New York Jets. And then I'm going to throw in Duke Shelley as well, our draft pick from this year. I believe you took him in the 6th round. I do believe he will get some playing time there. So that takes care of our left cornerback position. Let's go to the right cornerback position. And over here, we've got our other stud in Kyle Fuller. Okay, Kyle Fuller, of course, remember he made a Pro Bowl last season and a bounce back season. It's so funny, Kyle Fuller, I'm going to move out of the way here. Kyle Fuller was at a point where we were deciding if we wanted to cut him, okay? And he goes from that to a Pro Bowl level player. I believe it was a starter, okay? So Kyle Fuller, just a phenomenal year last year. And then McManus behind him. But again, this is all about Kyle Fuller. And then let's go to the front safety position. And then the strong safety. And again, I'm just listing my, in terms of where they line up. This is not according to that. Of course, we've got our stud, Eddie Jackson, who arguably you can say is arguably the best safety in the NFL. You can literally say he's the best safety in the NFL. And, of course, he made a Pro Bowl last season. And he's, I believe, one of the best players in not just the Bears, like I mentioned, the NFL as well. Deion Bush behind him, our draft pick from 2016. And then our strong safety, we've got the safety we signed from the Washington Redskins and Clinton-Dix. So I believe he's going to be a strong addition for us this year. And then we've got behind him Houston Carson. You guys might not know him. I think he was a draft pick from 2016. So that's basically how the defense shakes out here. And again, focus more on the starters because, again, those are the most impactful, most important players. But our depth on the defense side of the ball is decent. I do believe it's better than most people think. And the Bears' defense is actually rated, I believe, tied for the best rating overall in Madden. So I love what we've got here on the defense side of the ball. Of course, we know our defense, our monsters are Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, if I can find him right here, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller. So to me, obviously, most of the guys will remain the same because, again, if it ain't broke, why fix it? We've got one of the best defenses in the league. So not too many changes, again, to the starters. I don't believe there's any change to the starters besides Clinton-Dix. And I believe that is about it. And other than that, should be good to go. So there you have it, folks. We've got the offense. We've got the defense. I've listed out all of the important, of course, all the starters and all of the important backups. And I hope that gets you guys ready for Bears Season 1. Last thing I want to do before I sign off here is talk about just how good the Bears team is in terms of the Pro Bowlers we had last year. We had 12 Pro Bowlers last year, in case you guys forgot. So let me mark them up for you guys, okay? So we had last year Mitch was a Pro Bowler. Tariq Cohen was a Pro Bowler. Okay, so we had 2 on the offense, and I do believe Trey Burton was a Pro Bowler last year. I think he was an alternate. Khalil Mack, of course. Akeem Hicks. Eddie Jackson. I believe Danny Trevathan was a Pro Bowler. And I do believe Roquan, I said, got in as an alternate. And I think Leonard Floyd as well. What is that? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who am I missing? Oh, offensive lineman, Charles Leno, and Cody Whitehair. And that should take care of it. So there you have, folks, all of the Bears players that made a Pro Bowl last year. I hope we add to it. Let's get some receivers in here. Let's get a couple more of our cornerbacks. How can I forget Kyle Fuller? Sorry, Kyle Fuller forgot to mention him, but he definitely made the Pro Bowl last season, okay? But one last thing to take away before, again, we sign off here is heading into training camp. To me, the position where you want to focus on, or the positions where you want to focus on, where, you know, there's somewhat of a discussion on who should be the starters here, is obviously running back. I mentioned to you guys, we don't know how the running back snaps are going to match up, so that is very important for you guys to tell. Certainly, I do believe, you know, we can take a look at some of the defensive positions, but for the most part, I believe they're pretty much locked up. Yeah, I'm looking back at it, and I don't see it. It could be more about backups instead of the starters fighting for anything. So to me, it's really going to be about the running back position. We go heading into training camp. Maybe you want to talk about, you know, like I said, I believe Anthony Miller's going to be wide receiver 2 over Taylor Gabriel. But for the most part, this is how the Bears depth chart, I believe, will shake out in 2019. So there you have, folks. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree, like this video. Please, if you do, give it a big thumbs up. As always, thanks for watching.